Why are main events 5 rounds? And all I'm asking is a very sincere question of why. I have some possible guesses, but I've never been given an answer as to why. And I've been booked in these. And I can tell you my contract does not change in the least. I now have to go out there and do 70% more work with zero more reward. My contract does not. So why? Why are we doing it? Okay, let's look at a couple of possibilities. But none of these have been stated, so I can't use these. I can't hang my hat on this argument. And the reason I'm bringing it for you now, this happened, I believe, in 2012. If not, I could be a year off. But all of a sudden, they went to all main events are going to be 5 rounds. And what had happened up until about that time was every single card had a title fight as the main event. When the product and the cards started to grow and your champion numbers did not, you now just had some very big fights that were main events, but they weren't for the strap. So they decided to make the last fight of the night 5-5. And I don't know why. I found it peculiar. I found it peculiar particularly because we're living in a world in MMA where the finish is encouraged, where if you go the duration, it is frowned upon. The message I'm getting from that is the fights are too damn long to start with. That's what I'm getting from it. When I juxtapose that with what has killed the sport of boxing, which is 12-round contests. Nobody wants to watch anybody do anything for 12 rounds. Plus, the human body isn't made for it. When boxing first went on television about 3 decades ago or more, the commentators came out with a false narrative of these guys are feeling each other out. They're in the feeling out process. There's no such thing. There's no such thing in MMA, and that narrative's never even been created. There's no such thing in amateur boxing, and that narrative's never even been created. In professional boxing, what is happening is you have 2 athletes who both know the deal unspoken, which is I can't go 36 minutes, but neither can you. So let's come out here and kill the first 5 rounds. Then we'll get after it. This thing should have been booked for 7 in the first place, but it wasn't. So let's just figure it out between us and just bore the hell out of everybody who chose to tune in. It has single-handedly killed the sport of boxing. So when they tried to extend MMA, my very first thought, why would you do that? And I would love to know on a sincere answer, why would you do that? In boxing, they will bring you up through the amateur ranks where you will start with 3 rounds. For the top guys, the Golden Gloves champion, the world team members, the world medalists, the Olympic team members, the Olympic medalists, they can go right into 10-round fights and sometimes even 12. But largely boxing would bring you up through 4 to 6, sometimes 8, before they move you to 10 and 12. They will bring you up slow, but it's because it's a completely different environment. And the commissions and the regulators and the matchmakers and the promoters need to see that you can do it, that you have learned how to pace yourself, that you have physically prepared, conditioning-wise, your body to do this. It is an extreme ask, and we need evidence that you're prepared for it. So, when MMA chose to go to that, it's okay, what are we doing here? Are the guys that are in the main events that aren't fighting for championships, are they considered contenders fights? Can we pretend and state that these are contenders? So we're trying to get them into the 5-round club. We're trying to give them that experience before we put them for title. Is that what the answer is? Is there something completely different and abstract from the sport that, hey, we've got distribution partners and the folks that we work with have simply requested that the last fight be 5-5s? Is that what it is? Is it because it's the main event and we've got to offer something different, and because we don't have the belt to put up there, we'll add a couple of... Is that what it is? I'm open to any answer. But since this has began, and even in my time where I had to go do it, I was never given one. I also never asked for one. This is my first time asking for one. Maybe you guys know. But I am surprised that there wasn't pushback. I was surprised when we went to it in the first place, particularly living in the era of finish the fight. Don't give us all the minutes. Get out of there. Get the next ones out here. I was surprised. I am also surprised that even for title fights, and I think the reason this has never been pushed back upon is just because this is the way it was from the beginning, and we respect tradition, we respect history. But I do think that it at least should have raised a flag at some point over the 20 plus years that we've been doing this, that somebody would have said, why are title fights different? The Super Bowl's on Sunday, which is going to be for the same amount of time that every other game all year was played, why would, in our sport, it have to be a 70% increase? Why? Why would the times change based upon what's on the line? I don't know the answer. Maybe the fans like it more. Maybe that's the answer. I'm open to that. I'm not resisting. I just have never been told. And Jose Aldo was the first fighter that I have seen. I don't remember anybody else doing this. Refusing a main event based on the premise of, what do I have to gain? Why would I go out there and do 70% more work when I can just walk out one fight earlier, still sell as many tickets, still be on the card, still fill up an arena, still move the needle, and work 30% less of the time? I think it's a fair question, which isn't what my general attitude would normally be. I would normally swing back and say the show must go on and you've been given an elevated role and be thankful for it. I would normally say that. I just happen to think that he's asking a fair question. Why would I do that? And maybe he wanted an answer back. And maybe he wanted one of the bosses to come in and go, hey, you're right. And here's an extra fill in the amount on his purse. Maybe that's what he was looking for. Or maybe he was, what's on the line here? If I go out and do that, am I now the number one contender? Or maybe he was just saying, look, this doesn't make any kind of sense. And I've been in the 5-ground club enough. And my age is different and things are different for me. And my preparation and my ability to prepare is now different. And I'm not interested in it. Either way, I thought it was a very compelling point and a point that he won on. He will not be the main event, even though he should be. I don't know that that's a great precedent to set. I would love to argue against Jose. I just don't have any bullets to fire. I've been wondering the same thing myself. Why in the hell would the main event have to go on almost double the time of the co-main event? Some of the biggest fights that have ever been main events that were not for the title in UFC history. The biggest. Do you guys know the biggest, by the way? For you hardcores out there, do you know the biggest fight, the greatest gate, the greatest needle mover, the greatest revenue ever created in a main event for a non-title? The answer to that question is Rashad Evans versus Rampage Jackson. And I'll tell you something else about that fight. It was 3 5-minute rounds.